Hi, I'm Barbara Fote with another JTools session. This one is on finding people. 5 different ways you can use digital and online resources to help you find people for your stories. You'll learn 5 techniques. We'll talk about some search quick tricks, look at phone books and directories, what you can find about people in public records, and a little bit on crowdsourcing and social media. All the websites that I'll be showing you are linked right here on the same web page as this video. So ready to start? First, a quick refresher if you haven't gone through the JTools search unit recently. If you already have the name of somebody you want to find, you type it in a search engine, right? Let me suggest that you put quotes around the name. Let's say we were going to find out information on the new basketball recruit, Chris McCullough. If you just type in Chris McCullough in a search engine, it will likely bring you back every page that has Chris and every page that has McCullough. So a better option is to put the name in quotes. Then the search engine will look for those 2 words adjacent to each other. Also, there's probably a lot of Chris McCulloughs in the world, so you might want to add another word like Syracuse or basketball. It'll help you get better results quicker and faster. Another tip, if you want to look for something about Chris McCullough at a particular website, why search the whole internet if you could just search for his name at that particular website? Let's say that you saw something on Syracuse.com or the Post-Standard that had information about him and you can't find it on that website. Here's a way to filter a search for a particular website. The formula is the name again in quotes, and then at the end of the search statement, site : and the domain name, which is the web address after the www. So in this case, you'd put Chris McCullough in quotes and say, I want to look for those 2 words adjacent to each other at the site Syracuse.com. If you want to pause and test that out, go right ahead. Okay, ready for trick number 2? Let's talk about searching online on phone books with white pages or Anywho. Let me give you a couple of tips. I find that if you put the first initial of the name, particularly the first name, it's better because John or Rachel are spelled many different ways. Also, if you're going to put in an address, I find that it's easiest to leave off the street, avenue, or road. For example, I live on Hamlet Crest, and the phone book lists it like this. But you'd never probably type that into a search. So leave off the street, avenue, or road. Okay, let's try it. If we go to whitepages.com and you type in my name, and you'd have to know from my Newhouse bio that I live in Jamesville, we should be able to quickly get the address and phone number. Here's the phone, here's the address. Pretty cool, right? So while we're on phone books, there's also reverse directories on these websites. If you have a number, you can often find a name from white pages. Or if you have an address, you can find a name and number. I'll pause so you might be able to go try that out now. I hope it worked, but if it didn't, remember these phone books only have listed phone numbers. One more cool thing, if you have a business phone number, you can get an address. Let's say you arranged a sports shoot at Tully's and forgot to ask the address. When you go to the Tully's website, there's a couple addresses. Which one did you call? So you have the phone number, right? So you can put that into Bing or Google, and generally it comes back. Let's try it. And here it is. And the address, you called the one on Erie Boulevard. Another thing, if you have a phone number, you can often get directions off of MapQuest. Let's try that again with Tully's. And there you go. Pretty cool. One more thing, using phone books, if you need to call someone in Canada or internationally, on the JTools website, I've listed some international phone books. So take a few moments and see if you can use these phone books to find people or match addresses to phone numbers or look up business directions. Okay, 2 down, let's do the next one. It's on directories. Before we've been talking about having the name of somebody, but what if you don't have the name and are looking for an expert? Here's a great directory of experts from a journalist at journalism.net. First sources here, ProfNet, aren't available for student journalists, but here are directories, other directories, commentators, legal experts, business, health, librarians, fast facts. This is a great resource. There's also professional directories. If you're interested in finding a U.S. government employee, here's the best one-stop shopping site for that. In the search box here, you can put a name or an agency. Let's try it out. Suppose you're working on an environmental story on acid rain, and you read something from a person named Kaushal Gupta from the EPA. You want to question him more. What's his phone number? Pause the video now, find it, and come back. Well, I hope you found it. There's many things you could have put in that search box. His name in quotes with EPA, or maybe his name in acid rain. And yes, here's his phone number. And depending on what you found, you might even have found his email. In addition to U.S. government employees, there's a doctor finder. Remember this doctor with Jim Boeheim? You've probably seen the commercial way too many times. Let's check out Dr. Broslavsky and find out what we can about him. There's several click-throughs and agreements here, so I won't take you to it live, but here's what you'd find at the Doctor Finder. His name, that he's a specialist in urology, where he's located, his phone, and his board certification. Check it out now. Is there a doctor that you know, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, neighbor? See if you can find him or her. Hope you found somebody. The same is true for finders for lawyers. Either of these two sites are places where you could find a lawyer that you might know. Try it out. So far, we've been through 3 of the different techniques, and we've got 2 more, so why don't you take a pause, take a break, and come back and we'll do the last 2. Okay, just a quick recap. We've learned some quick tricks in search engines to find people. We've used phone books to put in a name and find a number if it's listed. And we've put in numbers and addresses and reversed them to find who lives there. We've looked at an experts list and a couple of professional directories. Now on to public records, which is really the fun stuff. States license a lot of different people, from beauticians to pest exterminators. New York puts them online, as do many states. So here, let's just take a look. I know that Karen McKinney is an athletic trainer at SU. Let's check if she has a license. Sure enough, she does, and here it is. Okay, here's another one, and this is really fun. Step 1 on being an investigative reporter or producer. You can check property records if you have an address, and most counties, like Onondaga, put them online. So let's, for example, look in DeWitt, and let's look at 6305 Hamlet and see who is there. Here's the basic information about the property, and if you look over here for owner, then you'll find that's me and my spouse. And here you can find out when we bought the house, what we paid for it, who we bought it from. And if you want tax information, over here you can find the town and county taxes or the school taxes. Just click here and you'd get the tax bill. Check this out for people you know in the Central New York area. Your professor might ask you to use this in your next class and you want to be familiar with it. So try it out and then come back. Okay, I hope that was fun. Let's try another one. It's election season and there's lots of campaign finance records that you can find. There are several places, but Open Secrets is a good one to start. Let's look at the congressional elections in this district. And I know that the current incumbent is Dan Maffei. And here we get results for him. Let's look at the 2014 race. This shows for the full district how much was totally spent by Maffei. Jane Rossi, who is in the primary, John Katko, who is his current opponent. Maffei has lots of records, and we could check out a profile for him. Let's look at the campaign committee and leadership PAC combined records. And you'll see it gives basic info about him and in this fundraising cycle how much he's raised. Here are the top 5 contributors to his campaign, and then the top 5 industries that have been supporting him. And there's lots of other information on these pages and lots of interesting things you can find. If we wanted to check out donors, we go to the Politicians and Elections tab and go to the Donor Lookup. Let's see how much Robert Conjol, the developer of Destiny, has given. 4 pages worth, and here's a beginning. You'll see they're color-coded, all the various people that he supported. There's lots of other ways to search this by comparing races, donors. You can look at zip codes, who and what zip code has been contributing, and there's more tips on how to do this on the website that accompanies this JTools unit. And finally, EDGAR, which is a way to find people with big businesses. The Securities and Exchange Commission requires those companies to file records. That's only, however, publicly traded companies. You can find information about people in a number of the required documents these corporations have to file, and which forms and where to go. Look here on the website for more info. And the last topic, crowdsourcing and social media. Facebook and Twitter are great for you to put out a request looking for a certain person you're trying to find. One of the ethical issues with Facebook that you might want to talk about with your professor in your next class is, should you friend sources? LinkedIn can also be very helpful to finding sources. Let's say you wanted to follow up on this Drone Research Center article. You can look for people named in the story. You can look at companies' names. You can look on LinkedIn by industry. It's also great as a tool to background before the interview and to find former employees who often will give you lots of information on the company that employees won't. If you're about to graduate, remember that professional journalists get an executive account on LinkedIn free if they take the free webinar. Look for the link on the website here for the LinkedIn group with journalists. You might find a breaking news situation, somebody's posted something on Instagram or Foursquare, and its new sister Swarm can be helpful in those situations. But one new platform that puts everything together is Banjo. Here's an example of how Banjo works as done at a Boston TV station.
Banjo, which is this new app that is posting all of the pictures from Twitter, Facebook, you name it. And I want to show you my favorite fan pic today. This guy. Don't you love him? You've probably seen him if you're down at the parade route. But so many wonderful pictures. Here's this one in the thick of it right here. And then if you look at this map, it shows you where the highest concentration of people are who are posting, who have their location services on. So right here, which is probably toward the end of the parade around Boylston Street, Matt Foley saying Boston police looking like a bunch of studs. Yes, they are. Miranda Jarrell, Johnny Gomes at the finish line. So it's just so cool.
Remember also to check out carefully what's on social media. Is the picture real? Is the person real? And speaking of ethics, one of the other questions that you might want to talk with your professor about is this cartoon. What about the privacy rights with social media? Well, we've talked about 5 different techniques. Here they are for your review. I hope this has been helpful for you to find people. If you like this kind of stuff, please go read the Ready Reporter blog where I post at least once a week another tip like this, and follow me at Ready Reporter.